It's been nearly 5 years since Land Rover returned the coveted Defender nameplate to the States after a near 25-year-long hiatus. In that time frame, this vehicle has grown to become Land Rover's best-selling model here in America. Now, one of the key ingredients to sales success is not only a beautiful retro rugged design, but it's also by offering plenty of variants. So for 2024, Land Rover is expanding the Defender family with the introduction of this Defender 130 Outbound. And what this is essentially is the biggest version of the Defender, with its third row seat removed, along with these panels put on the rear windows to essentially create the ultimate overlanding off-road rig. So for those of you who are looking for a vehicle like that to escape the urban environment, how does the brand new 2024 Defender Outbound stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling changes for the Outbound version of the Defender, I thought I'd lift the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing. Now, the Defender 130 offers a choice of 3 different engines, basically 2 tunes to a turbocharged inline-6 and a supercharged V8. The Outbound version, however, just comes with the middle option, which is the P400, which is what Land Rover calls the engine. Now, what that essentially means is you get a 3-liter turbocharged and supercharged direct injection inline-6 engine. It also has a 48-volt mild hybrid system, so you can essentially call it a twin-charged inline-6. And this is, the name of this engine is called P400 because it essentially makes 400 horsepower in metric horsepower. So if you convert it to the horsepower figure that we measure in the US, that means it has 395 ponies and 406 pound-feet of torque. We know this engine in every other Land Rover product. I've tested it in multiple vehicles. It's paired up with an 8-speed ZF-sourced automatic with the company's full-time 4-wheel drive system as standard. My test car has the off-road pack, which means it includes a locking rear differential. It also has a low-range transfer case, of course. So this is a serious off-road rig, and it's something that you expect, of course, when a vehicle has the Land Rover badge. Now, fuel efficiency is not a top priority, obviously, for a vehicle like this. It's rated to get 16 in the city, 18 on the highway. That is on premium gas. This vehicle has a near 24-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at just under 400 miles of range between fill-ups, and it's going to be an expensive fill-up with how big that gas tank is. Now, Land Rover says the 0 to 60 time should be around 6.3 seconds. We'll get it out on our roads with our testing equipment and see what we can actually get. It has a top speed of around 100 miles an hour. That is governed limited, of course. And this vehicle is an SUV. It can tow actually a pretty chunky amount, up to 8,201 pounds. And as this vehicle sits, it weighs in at just under 6,000 pounds, around 5,900 pounds to be exact. But let's go ahead and close up this hood and talk about the exterior styling. Now, one of the things that I love about the Defenders is this kind of like diamond, this steel diamond plated, black portion here on the grille. The grille itself also has a nice little power bulge. And then when you first look at the Defender, even though this design has been on the market for 5 years, I have to say it is still a beautiful looking SUV. It still attracts attention everywhere you take it. And it's no surprise to me that it is Land Rover's best-selling model. You can see this Fiji white, I believe is what this color is called, is the free exterior color. It looks good with all the black accents, the Defenders spelled out boldly across the hood. You have these full LED headlights with LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals, LED low and high beams. You also have LED fog lights down here. The front fascia, of course, has a really good approach angle because this is an SUV. With off-road pretensions, you can see the area here is unpainted in this kind of like gray finish to it to allow it to be more durable. You have around 8.5 inches of ground clearance. That's the standard amount. Lift up the air suspension, of course. It can jack it up to as much as 11.5 inches. And Land Rover says this vehicle can ford about almost 3 feet of water. So again, it has the off-road capability to back up the looks. It also has underbody skid plates, of course. Now, moving around the side profile, you can see this is a big vehicle. In fact, with the coverings, the body-colored panel coverings over the rearward most windows, which the windows are still there, they're just covered up. It almost kind of resembles like an a Sprinter van, like an off-road Sprinter van, or just kind of like an off-road panel van. But it has a 119-inch long wheelbase with an overall length just over 200 inches long. Now, if you include the spare tire at the back, it actually means the overall length is around 211.7 inches long. This is technically the longest vehicle in the Land Rover portfolio. It's actually longer than a Range Rover long wheelbase if you include the additional foot that you get from the spare tire mounted at the back. Now, looking at the wheels, these are the unique wheels that you get with the Outbound model. It's a gloss black double 5-spoke 20-inch wheel. It looks fantastic with these 265 by 60 R20 Goodyear Wrangler Duratrack off-road all-terrain tire. You have a 14.3-inch rotor at the front, a 13.8-inch rotor at the back, all independent air suspension, of course. Like I said earlier, it can raise the vehicle as much as 3 inches in its off-road setting. The wheel arch, or the fender flares, you can see are nice and wide to accommodate the all-terrain tires. This vehicle is nearly 80 inches wide. And also you can see, I like how Land Rover actually painted that gloss black as opposed to the cheap looking flat unpainted material. You can see there are some functional openings here that allows for some cooling for the engine. You can see the A-pillar here is nice and blacked out. It goes nicely with the blacked out side mirrors. Those are power folding. It has full 360 cameras around. It has integrated turn signals. And then above me here, you can see this panoramic sunroof is included as well. This area on the roof, Land Rover says, because of the all-terrain tires, can now support up to 370 pounds of dynamic weight on the roof. So that's essentially stuff that you can put on the roof panel and drive the vehicle in addition to obviously putting a roof tent. Typically, it can carry almost double that when you have it with a roof tent. And then looking over at the side profile, you can see, first of all, my test vehicle has an accessory, which I couldn't find the actual pricing of this accessory, but you can see it's actually like a little ladder. This ladder is lockable, obviously, if you don't want someone to open it up, but I've left it unlocked to show you guys what it's like. And you can see once I pull that, which requires you to have 2 hands, so pull that and then pull that out, you can see the ladder will fold down. This ladder can supposedly support up to 330 pounds of weight. And again, it's nicely integrated, and I think it actually is a nice design touch because without it, it just has too much of this like panel that's body color that reminds you again of like a van. But again, I'll go ahead and show you for demonstration purposes. You can see that the legs here have nice big grips on them. And then if I lift myself up, you can see I'm now standing over the roof of the vehicle, and it gives you nice, easy access to get to whatever you're gonna put on the roof of the vehicle. So this is a really nice touch. I don't have pricing for this, sadly, because it wasn't on the MSRP, but that is, of course, an accessory for the vehicle. Moving around to the rear of the Defender, you can see the styling here is pretty much unchanged. You do have a digital camera rear view mirror, which is mounted very high up there on that little shark fin. You have a full-size matching spare with a matching alloy as well, the same tire, which is fantastic. You expect that, of course, when you're doing some serious off-roading. And then you can see the taillights have that really cool design, which again makes this thing almost look like a van or a school bus from the back. The exhaust system is tucked underneath the rear bumper, no visible exhaust tips, but you can see the actual tips themselves kind of tucked away. And then over on this side, this is part of like the Explorer pack or the Adventure pack, I believe. You can see, I love this body or this black painted, gloss black painted little side panel storage, which you can see lifted up. It provides a pretty good amount of space here where you can put maybe like some dirty shoes, dirty wet clothes. You could also put like some jumper cables in here. And again, it provides additional storage here, which is also lockable when you close that. And I also love the way this looks. Again, it kind of breaks up all the white paneling that you get along the side here. It just adds to the whole rugged theme. And then looking at the cargo area, this is another area where Land Rover, again, gives you more because they removed the third row seat. First of all, you can see it has that side swinging door. Because they removed the third row seat, you have a little over 47 cubic feet of total storage space with or behind the second row. Now that isn't quite long enough to fit a bed, but as you can see, you can fold down the second row back there, and Land Rover says they've expanded that cargo capacity to just under 90 cubic feet. 90 cubic feet is definitely gonna be long enough for you to kind of put a bed back here and sleep in the truck if you don't feel like sleeping on the roof of the vehicle. But by removing that third row, they've essentially increased the cargo capacity. So if you guys are looking for the most practical Defender that has the most cargo space and you don't need to carry 7, because as you guys saw, the 7-seater model, while it can do it, it doesn't have as much cargo space. This is the version you're gonna wanna get because of the expanded practicality from the trunk. So on the outside, the Defender 130 Outbound is certainly a handsome looking rig, but what about the interior? That's where you're gonna be spending your time, especially if you guys bring this out into the wilderness area and just do your camping in the vehicle. But before we get inside, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is Land Rover's Intelligent Access key. It has the usual buttons here. It also feels nice and sturdy and heavy. It has some serious weight to it with the chrome and just the solid feel. You have your usual buttons for lock, unlock. I believe that flashes the fog lights or the rear fog lights. And you can see there's also a button here to open up the tailgate, although it's technically a side swinging barn door, so it just pops it open. And then there's your panic function. I don't believe Land Rover offers a digital key function. They do offer like an activity key. But obviously, I don't have access to that or any of the smartphone features because this is a press loan. But you can see as I approach the vehicle's door handles, traditional door handle here, Land Rover does not do an auto walkaway lock or unlock feature. So when you want to lock the car, you get out, you push that button, that will lock the doors. It'll also power fold the mirrors in. When you want to unlock it, there's no sensor on the back of the handle. You have to touch the button again. The mirror will fold out and then that will unlock the door for you. Now, I hope you guys like a black interior because the Outbound is only available in a limited amount of colors. So the exterior colors are either black, 2 grays, or this white exterior color. I wish Land Rover would offer more colors on the Outbound, but they don't. And then on the inside, all you get is just this ebony black robust tech is what they call it. So it's a fake leather material, but it feels extremely durable. The seats are also heated and ventilated. And it also has some really interesting textures in it. I do wish Land Rover would offer this, especially this white color with like a red interior or their brown, caramel interior. But all you can get is just this black, ebony black, robust tech. The seats adjust in 12 different ways. You can also go to a 14-way adjustment for the power seats. And it also includes 3-person memory on the driver's side as well, but it's also technically included on the passenger side, which is nice. The door panel material, you can see, has this nice soft touch injection molded area here where it also is covered with that robust tech. Same thing over here where it's nice and padded. I love the exposed screw heads that you find on the door panels. That's been a signature Defender trait. There's also a 10-speaker Meridian sound system that's standard. That also sounds pretty good if you guys are an audiophile. There's also an upgraded system in other trims, I believe. The area down here has some nice storage. It's all hard touch plastic down here, but again, very durable, very retro modern. I love the metal speaker covers for the sound system. And it just really adds to the whole impression of durability, but also quality and luxury, which is difficult to nail both. But getting inside, you can see there's a nice grab handle here. You can also lower the vehicle into an access mode. I have it in its standard mode right now for the air suspension, but basically hold on to that and you can kind of just hoist yourself in, which is not too terrible. Running boards along the side would just affect the ground clearance, so I would skip that. As I close the door, the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, which adds to that impression of quality and that this thing is built like a tank. Now, once you're inside, the interior hasn't really changed since the last Defender that I showed you. You can see start stop button is here. Push that button and you can hear the engine kind of just purrs to life without a traditional starter noise, and that's because of the 48-volt mild hybrid system, which again should improve the efficiency, although that's not really the point of a vehicle like this. Now you can see the steering wheel is the typical Defender steering wheel where it spells out Defender there. It has lots of buttons here for your adaptive cruise control, the driver assistance stuff, your audio information. You can see it's all lit up, and I like how it's actual buttons, although it's technically a panel that you just kind of push in and you can kind of adjust that screen to your liking for however way you want to customize it. The wheel itself has a power tilt telescoping function, although the Land Rover puts the little control stalk over here on the actual passenger side as opposed to the driver's side, which is different. You have a digital 12-inch cluster here in the instrument panel that is customizable, and then you also have the company's 11.4-inch Pivi Pro infotainment system with wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. The system itself is pretty modern. It looks fantastic. It has the wireless functions as I mentioned, and also connects to my phone pretty reliably. And then in terms of the materials, you can see you have that same robust tech with the exposed stitching on this portion of the dash. It's also down here on this lower portion. I love the way the dash is designed, where you have essentially a storage shelf here that continues along all the way to the passenger side. It spells out Defender there to let you know you've got a Defender. Over here you can see this has a rubberized look and feel to it, and it also is slightly padded. There's an optional $1,000 heads-up display that my test truck has as well, which I could probably take or leave. I also like how the way the vents are designed, how they're kind of mounted high up on the dash. And they're also traditional in that sense. You have a shifter here that controls the 8-speed auto. You push a trigger at the front to go into reverse and push it forward. You can see there's your full 360 camera where you can kind of do a perimeter scan around the truck if you guys want. There's also specific off-road views as well, in addition to kind of doing a curb view. The car in the picture isn't quite the same as the one that I'm driving, which I kind of wish that Land Rover would just got that little detail down. But again, this is all very impressive stuff. The technology and the graphics and the resolution all is about pretty much what you would expect. You can see going to the off-road setting there, it'll show you whether your center or rear locker is engaged. It shows you your different trail cameras. You can also drive forward to view underneath the hood, which is also pretty cool. This will essentially show you kind of an under view, I guess, but I suppose it's probably going to work mostly when you're doing off-road situations. There's also some towing cameras here. My tester also has the tow package, which is nice, and you can see here going back to the CarPlay, that works well. There's a home screen here as well, where if you want, you can also pull up GPS in the actual vehicle's GPS as opposed to the CarPlay GPS if you want. Going over here, you can see there's all the different sources, driver assistance. There's also an air quality ionizer in this vehicle. You can go to your climate functions, going back to the navigation here, which brings up to the embedded GPS. And then there's also an optional ambient lighting package that my tester has, part of like a convenience package. And it really makes the ambient lighting here customizable, and it makes it feel a little bit more special. So that's something to keep in mind if you guys, are checking out this vehicle and you want it for more of the luxury aspects. You can see over here, you have these actual big 2 dials, which controls the climate control function, and it also doubles as the heated and ventilated seat control. So you basically have to like push it in, and then it'll allow you to adjust either the temperature or your heated and cooled seats. Your air suspension buttons here are located here. This is in the normal setting. If I push this, it'll go up. Push that, it'll go down into an access mode. Your start, stop, defeat is here. You have a downhill assist control. You have a volume knob over here as well, which is nice that Land Rover gives you the knob. I also like how it has like this kind of durable rubberized finish here, which is non-slip, and it doesn't show fingerprints and scratches, which is nice. You have 2 USB-C charging ports, or I'm sorry, a USB-C and a USB-A. There's also a little bit of storage here where I can put all my camera gear. You have more exposed screw heads here, which is nice. Cup holders, wireless phone charging pad is here. You have a nice padded center console area. And then the Outbound model also includes, I believe, this console refrigerator. So it actually gets incredibly cold in here, where it'll keep your drinks cold, or keep your food cold, which is nice. And this, again, is very important if you guys plan to do some overlanding and off-roading in the wilderness. You're gonna want someplace to be able to keep your food and beverage items cold. This is a nice padded area. I also like, I don't know if you guys noticed, it folds all the way back, which I think is a really nice touch. You can see it's also sealed here to allow it to stay cold. These seats, as you can see, the fake leather material, this robust tech, feels durable, but it also feels nice and padded. The seats are comfortable and supportive even on longer drives, which I appreciated. And then you can see my test truck also has, for $570, a digital camera rearview mirror, which is definitely useful, because when you look out of the rear here, the spare tire does get in the way slightly. Those panel covers over the rearmost windows, however, they don't really bother me too much in terms of visibility. You can see there's a woven material here. You have LED map lighting. And then these models also come standard with their panoramic sunroof, which also opens up to vent air. It also has a retractable shade, which is definitely nice. And then looking at the glove box, you can see the glove compartment here is damped, but not lined with felt. It's a bin style. It's a decent size, but you have additional storage everywhere else throughout the vehicle. So overall, this interior still very much looks the same as when it first came out back in 2020. I don't really think it needed any changes. I just want Land Rover to offer different color options on the Outbound model. This black just seems a little too drab and dreary. But again, this interior feels a lot nicer versus what you're going to find in like a Wrangler or a Ford Bronco. Going to the backseat area, this is where the Defender 130 Outbound also is going to offer a pretty good amount of space, especially if you guys, need to actually carry your tall friends back here. Land Rover says there's a little over 38 inches of legroom back here, which is pretty high. This is actually a good 3 to 4 inches more versus what you're going to find in the Bronco and the Jeep Wrangler. You can see material quality back here is kind of the same as the 2 front seat area. It's a nice padded area with that robust tech. Same thing down here, more of those beautiful exposed screw heads. And then the window controls, they are one touch up, down for all 4. I forgot to mention that earlier. You have some aluminum accents here, aluminum door handles. This actually feels nice and solid with the metal speaker covers. There's a little bit of storage here. And then these seats, they do give you the ability to recline them, and you can also obviously fold them down. Or you can also still do this, where it allows you to slide the seat forward, which is kind of a leftover feature that you get from the 3rd row model, because obviously there's no 3rd row in this vehicle, but Land Rover kind of decided to keep that little versatility feature. Now getting inside, you can see there's a nice grab handle here, although I kind of wish this was covered in like a leather material. It feels a little bit cheap. But closing the door, you can see the legroom space is a lot. This is where I have the seat to drive. I can have plenty of space to kind of stretch my legs out. There's good foot space underneath the seat as well. You have rear seat air vents along with quad zone climate control, although I am surprised there's no heated rear seats back here. I would have liked to see that feature, especially at this price point. You have 2 USB charging ports, 2 USB-A charging ports. No power outlet here, but there is one located in the cargo area where there's an actual 1220 volt power outlet. You can see this also folds down to give you an armrest with 2 cup holders. And then because this vehicle is a box, check out all this headroom. This is an insane amount of headroom. So if you've got some really tall friends with long legs, you can easily fit them in the backseat area of the Defender. And because the vehicle is almost 80 inches wide, you can also theoretically fit 3 people across. But remember, if you need a 3rd row, the Outbound model deletes that because instead you get a crap ton of cargo space behind this 2nd row. So it's kind of crazy to think that the Land Rover Defender has been on the market for about 4 years now. And remember, it was like a 2.5 long decade hiatus since Land Rover offered something with the Defender name in the States. And clearly this vehicle has been such a huge success for Land Rover because it is the company's best-selling model here in the States. So obviously, the company keeps this car fresh by introducing new variants every year, and this time we are behind the wheel of the Outbound trim, which only comes as the 130, so it's the longer version. It's like 13 plus inches longer versus the 110. So you do get basically a vehicle that feels almost like you're driving around a school bus or maybe even like a panel van or something like that because of the extra length, especially in the rear overhang. Therefore, this model comes standard, of course, with the P400 engine, which is the 3-liter twin-charged inline-6 with a 48-volt mild hybrid system, delivering 395 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque. This vehicle does weigh close to 6,000 pounds, hooked up to an 8-speed auto with full-time 4-wheel drive. Let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60-wise. So we're in sport mode now. We'll go ahead and we'll brake torque it. You know, for a vehicle that weighs close to 6,000 pounds, it'll do 0 to 60 in 6.56 seconds, and that's actually very impressive. That's, you know, the beauty about this powertrain is it really punches above its actual numbers in terms of output. It also has that electric supercharger, the 48-volt mild hybrid system, a very smooth and responsive 8-speed auto. Sadly, there is still something about this powertrain that feels a little bit laggy off the line, which you can defeat by brake torquing it like I did and kind of launching the vehicle. But what you do get as well is a very smooth overall powertrain. I love the sound of the inline-6. I love the refinement of it. It just feels very, very effortless when you really get it going. And that's kind of the point when you're driving a vehicle around like this, a luxury car. You want it to feel effortless in terms of acceleration. The start-stop in this car is not the quickest to respond. That's the one thing I don't like. You can defeat it by pushing this button right here. And we'll go ahead and we'll floor it this time without brake torquing it. 7.18 seconds there, and that's with it more going slightly uphill. I didn't brake torque it this time. So I'd say when you launch the vehicle, it'll probably shave off a few tenths of a second off the 0 to 60 time. But most of the time, you're gonna drive this vehicle normally and it'll hit 60 miles an hour in around 7 seconds, which isn't bad. It's not the quickest accelerating, but it does, you know, make this thing a little bit quicker versus, you know, some of the rivals like the Ford Bronco and the Jeep Wrangler, of course. Unless you're looking at the Raptor or the 392 Wrangler, which Land Rover again offers a supercharged V8 in this model. Not in this particular model, but in the other versions of the 130 if you guys would prefer to have a V8, so that's something to keep in mind. But other than that, I have very little complaints with this inline-6. I think it's a great powertrain, although once I knock it out of sport mode for the transmission and just drive the vehicle normally, this is where you're going to notice that the transmission and the engine can lag a little bit. I think that the tuning of the throttle is a little bit too conservative for my taste. It just feels like there's a lag, and then the start-stop can take a sec for it to restart up, and then you're dealing with a double whammy there with the lag. So once you kind of get used to that, you don't really notice it as much, but for those of you who are, you know, used to driving something that's electric, for example, if you're coming out of like a Rivian R1S and into this, you're going to notice that there's a little bit of time that it takes for everything to kind of gather up speed and accelerate forward. But one of the things that makes Land Rover so popular with people is the fact that you get this big commanding view of the road. The Defender certainly delivers on that. This vehicle has 8.5 inches of ground clearance right now in its normal mode. I can jack the suspension up, which air suspension is standard on this model, up to 11.5 inches of ground clearance. So easily a 3-inch lift, which is pretty impressive. This thing has basically the same ground clearance as like a Raptor, or a Bronco Raptor almost, or a Wrangler 392 or a Wrangler Rubicon when it's in its off-road 2 suspension setting, which is great. It really, makes this thing feel like a tank. It feels like you can kind of take on any kind of pavement, along with these, 20-inch wheels on these all-terrain Goodyear Duratrack tires. It also feels like you can run over any pothole and it'll just kind of take that. Now, here I put my foot down a little bit harder. You can see the transmission didn't want to downshift as much as I wanted to, but once it gets going, again, you feel that surge of power from the electric supercharger, the turbocharger. The 48-volt mild hybrid is supposed to assist it at low speeds. But it feels really well matched once everything gets going. And then when you're driving around, normally the vehicle also is very refined. And this is one of the big selling features about the Defender compared to a Bronco or a Wrangler, is this interior is a lot quieter. It feels very, very solid. It kind of gives you the impression that you're driving a special luxury vehicle, but at the same time, it feels robust. It feels like you can kind of throw it at anything, and it feels durable, but while also feeling luxurious. It's a really difficult task, to nail both of those qualities. And I think that's something that Land Rover does extremely well. Now, with this big, longer wheelbase, you definitely notice the turning radius of this car has been widened, but it still feels relatively maneuverable there. Those side panels that are covering up the glass in the rear area, some of you may think it may affect your blind spots back there, and to be honest, I don't really feel that it does. The side mirrors show you a lot of what's going on in the sides. The rear window also is not really, it is partially blocked by the rear tire back there, but I can still see out of it nicely. For an extra $500, you can also do this and add a digital camera review mirror, which basically fixes all the blind spot problems because you can see a much more wide angle of what's exactly behind you. These all-terrain tires, I definitely hear them more. These are the most aggressive tires that I've tested on a Defender yet, and you definitely hear the knobbiness of these all-terrain tires. So that's really what you're going to notice the most when you go for the Outbound trim. You can downgrade to either downgrade or upgrade to a 22-inch wheel with an all-season tire if you guys would prefer that, which should quiet down this car's road noise a little bit more because of these tires. But I personally love the way these look. It really just adds to the whole rugged overlanding feel that Land Rover is going with the Defender, and the Outbound just kind of takes that to the next level. In terms of driver assistance tech, it has Land Rover's version of their lane keep assist, forward collision alert, adaptive cruise control. You can also push this little button here and you can customize the driver assist from like a low to a custom to a maximum. In the maximum setting, I found it to be kind of annoying because it will beep constantly, let you know that you're going over a lane or if it sees something. So I have it in a custom setting, which I think has the perfect amount of driver assistance. In terms of the fuel efficiency, this rig is rated at 16 in the city, 18 on the highway. All that accessories all over this thing, and the fact that it's a square is not good for fuel economy. It showed around just under 400 miles of range on a full tank, which is not bad, although you do have a pretty big 24-gallon fuel tank, so the fill-ups on this thing with premium fuel are going to be expensive. In my weeks of the testing, I averaged around 15 mpg, which is pretty similar to the last Defender 130 that I tested. On the highway, the best I could do was around 17, so not quite as good there on the highway because, again, of all these additional accessories like that roof box or the side panel box on the passenger side. And I also like the way it looks from the side mirrors. You can see the ladder, you can see the roof box. It just gives me the sense that I'm driving something cool and rugged and tough, and I think that's the reason why the Defender sells so well. But overall, even though this vehicle has been on the market for the last 4 years now, it still feels fresh, it still feels modern, it still gets attention everywhere I take this thing. So it's no surprise to me that this is the company's best-selling model. And really, if you guys are shopping for an off-road Overland style vehicle and you don't have the Defender on your list, you're really doing yourself a huge disservice. Now, last year in America, Land Rover managed to sell a little over 21,000 units here in the States, making this model, again, the best-selling Land Rover model here in the US, and it was the best sales year ever for the Defender since it first came out back in late 2020 after spending the full week with the 130 Outbound. I mean, you guys know, if you've seen my other reviews on the Defender, I've always loved this vehicle. Ever since it first came out, it has a design that is just retro, rugged, that really works, that continues to stand out. Everybody literally stares at this vehicle everywhere I take it. To an interior that also feels rugged, but also feels luxurious. That's two very difficult tasks to get right at the same time, but the Defender again nails that. I wouldn't expect anything more or anything less from Land Rover. And really, in terms of the Outbound trim, this model here is interesting because, again, it's the longer version with the third row seat deleted, which the third row seat, for those of you who don't need it, really does take up a lot of space back there, because as you guys saw, the cargo capacity is now among the best in the segment. If you're comparing this to like a Bronco or a Wrangler four-door, the Defender Outbound obviously is going to give you the most space on the inside, along with the quietest interior, the most refined ride. The P400 engine also is well matched to this vehicle. I just want Land Rover to work on the tuning of the throttle response tip-in and the start-stop technology to make this thing feel a little bit less laggy. You can defeat the lag by putting it in sport mode and then just kind of being heavy on the throttle all the time, but it's something that you kind of get used to. In terms of on-road dynamics, these all-terrain tires do add a little bit of unwanted noise out on the highway, but you can, again, spec in a 22-inch wheel with an all-season tire if you guys prefer and you don't plan to do some serious off-roading. I personally love the way this is spec'd out. It's probably exactly how I would do it myself. And then in terms of the pricing, this is where the Defender Outbound does get a little bit tricky for pricing, because obviously Land Rovers are not cheap vehicles. The Defender is technically the third most affordable model in the Land Rover family. Only the Range Rover Velar and the Discovery Sport is actually cheaper. But if you want to get into a two-door Defender, pricing is going to start at around $56,000. The Defender 130, however, is going to start at around $69,000. So it's around $13,000 more. The Outbound trim, however, is going to come in at around $84,500. That sounds like, a whopping $15,000 price premium over a base Defender, although technically I believe the trim line of this is kind of based off of the Defender 130X SE, which is around $81,000. So really, in reality, Land Rover charges around $2,500 to $3,000 more for the Outbound trim to essentially give you those special wheels, remove the third row, and then put these panels along the side of the vehicle. So that's a little bit more of a reasonable amount. My particular test truck, of course, with the off-road upgrade package that it has, and a couple of other small options like the Adventure Pack, the interior protection package, that digital camera rearview mirror. This model here comes in at just over $93,000. I know 93 grand sounds like a lot of money, but I want you to keep in mind that if you're looking at something like a Ford Bronco Raptor or a Wrangler 392 or even a Wrangler Rubicon X, those vehicles are going to cost you well over 70 grand. Fully loaded. A Raptor version of the Bronco starts at 90 grand. A Wrangler 392 with the V8 also starts over $90,000. Now, you could get a Defender with the V8 in this 130 gauge, but it is going to have that third row. That's going to start at over $120,000. So again, if you guys are comparing it to the Jeep and the Ford, the Land Rover is just an easier and more luxurious and refined vehicle to live with, but it also doesn't give up anything in terms of off-road capability. But again, if you guys are looking for the most off-road capable version of this truck, you're going to be looking at the two-door Defender 90, because again, this model here with the increase in length does affect the off-road capability, especially if you look at the rear departure angle. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Land Rover Defender 130 Outbound. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.